Hello everybody, my name is Mark Sage and welcome to the latest of what has been a long line of area thought leaders webinars. I'm really excited to be here with Augumenta and talking about how to tackle multiple shop floor challenges with a single AR solution. Those of you who have been to webinars, the area webinars before, my apologies. I'm just going to give a quick overview of the area as I've done on all the others. But I thank you for attending, and I know you'll have a really interesting webinar today. Next page, please, Eve. Okay, as you hopefully know, the area stands for the AR Enterprise Alliance. It's the only global membership-funded not-for-profit alliance, and we're really helping organizations accelerate their adoption and understanding of enterprise AR, and we're doing that by supporting the growth of a comprehensive ecosystem. Next slide, please. Our members are in 3 different segments. We have a number of enterprises who have deployed and continue to deploy successful AR solutions. We have another group of providers of the AR solutions, including software and services, hardware, and everything alike. And then we have a third group, which we bundle under non-commercial organizations, but often government agencies, research institutes, universities, and standards organizations. And by bringing all of this knowledge, skills, people together, we're really helping develop a great understanding of the ecosystem, but also overcoming some of the barriers to adoption. Next slide, please. This is our 4, what we call our strategic pillars, what the area is achieving. The first one is about delivering thought leadership, really is focusing on what business decision makers need to understand about AR. So it's focusing on what problems can be solved, the use cases, examples of those problems being solved in real life, the case studies, what technologies are needed, and most importantly, the ROI. And our webinar today is an example of many different thought leadership programs and activities we have in place. Secondly is networking, bringing the ecosystem together. The number of times I speak to area members who have really appreciated and learnt from working with other area members to gain their insights, to build those partnerships and really help them successfully deploy the technology and not perhaps come up with the challenges that those companies have already been able to overcome. So networking is very important. On the educate side, it's about closing the AR skills gap. So making sure that we have a steady set of skilled workers coming into the industry. We're doing that by working with universities and educational organizations to help them define what AR courses should look like, to do guest lecturing, to do outplacements, to set them challenges. And we have a number of very successful relationships with universities around the world. And then finally, it's about reducing barriers to adoption. We have a number of committees that the area members attend, focusing on some of the barriers, but also providing some great insight. So we have a research, security, safety, human factors, and marketing committees. And again, doing some excellent work, and there's lots of great insights and very detailed research that are really helping companies, say, overcome those barriers to adoption. Next slide, please, Eve. Just to let you know that this is one of many webinars we've been running over the years. There's a real strong secret set of, sorry, not secret, but there's lots of kind of webinars and information there that you can easily go and access under the webinar archive and also on our YouTube channel. So please go and have a look there. We've done lots of different thought leadership webinars with our members, but research, interoperability and standards, security and safety are all have different webinars and information which are very worth having a look at and helping you deliver the technology. And then finally we have, next slide please. There's another webinar coming up on December the 3rd, 11 AM Eastern time, and that's with another one of our members, View AR, and that will be talking about digital twins and 3D scans and a lot of work they've been doing to kind of extend that solution and bring lots and lots of different AR solutions together. Cool, so the final slide and the last bit from me. Perfect. So I'm going to hand over to the Augmented team in a minute. Just to remind you that in the webinar tool, you have a questions part. So please ask any questions at any time as we go through the presentations today. It'd be great. We'll answer those questions at the end, and if we don't have quite enough time, we'll definitely follow up with written responses to that. Rather excitingly, we're going to be doing a few polls today, so we'll be asking you to interact with a very simple set of questions as we go through the webinar. So the Augmented team will be, and I'll be working with them to provide those polls. And just to remind you that this will be recorded, it will be made available on the Area YouTube site and the Augmented team's pages as well, and they'll be following up with access to that as well. So I think definitely enough from me. I want to thank the Augmented team. You'll be hearing from a number of people, but I'm first going to pass over to Eve, who's going to start the webinar. So thank you very much, Eve, and over to you.
Thank you, Mark. So hello, everyone. I'm excited to be talking here, and welcome to this webinar on my behalf too. So my name is Eve Lindroth, and I'm the marketing manager of Augumenta. And for those of you who are not that familiar with us, I'd like to first present Augumenta briefly. So what we do is we develop augmented reality solutions for digital industries. And our solutions are used primarily by enterprises and SMEs to enable remote working and remote support, also to enhance daily operational efficiency and to improve quality and safety records. So the company was founded in 2012 by three guys. Tero here is one of the founders, but the roots go much deeper than that into academic research, started years back. At the moment, we are a group of 12 people, so located in Finland, Taiwan, Japan, and Kenya. And we are working with companies all over the world. So today there's going to be three of us talking here. I'm going to start with a short overview of what markets say about things like industrial AR and the use cases today. Tero Aaltonen, our founder and CEO, talks to you about the factory floor challenges and how they are tackled with the help of augmented reality. And last, Sanna Siurumaa, she's currently doing her thesis work and helping us develop some of our processes. She will talk about the usability research and how to get started with an industrial AR project. But again, welcome, and let's get started. So the question is, are we still in the phase AR will change the way we work, or are we already in the phase AR is changing the way we work today in factories? And if so, how is it actually changing it? So prior to the pandemic, the numbers of market forecast promised strong growth for enterprise AR, especially for the first half of 2020s. Since it's not always straightforward to understand what part of these numbers or different forecasts actually goes under enterprise AR, I don't feel comfortable to talk about the exact scale, but I do want to give you a few pointers. So I'm just going to show these few phrases here. These are from different reports, but they are all pointing into the same direction. Like this, as you can see from this picture, like this PwC report from last year, saying that AR and VR are going to enhance over 23 million jobs by 2030. And in a few of these countries, you can see in Finland, UK, and France and Germany, those lower numbers, how it's going to have an effect there. And to put that into proportion, in 2019, that number of jobs enhanced with by AR, VR was actually a bit over 800,000. So very, very significant growth there. Some reports have even predicted that this year, so 2020 is a tipping point. So after which enterprise AI should start spreading like a wildfire. So finally catching up with all the promises. But that was prior. So what about now? How's the case with current pandemic? The message is slightly divided. So most of the headlines today state that the pandemic increases the demand for AI solutions because first, the pandemic has forced companies to shift towards more advanced digital solutions, and that is expected to boost up the augmented reality services market. And second, because AR is one of the concrete technologies that can actually help businesses keep their operations ongoing. And also, because of the general pressure to digitalize operations, companies are paying more attention to their technology strategies and augmented reality as part of it. So we should shortly start to see how it actually goes, because according to some reports, markets start growing already during this year, so 2020 and 21. But some, like the IDC report from this summer, maybe many of you have seen it, but that's actually taking back some of the earlier predictions and state that the spending on AR/VR will first slow down along with the economic downturn. So not going to grow this year or next year, would pick up again and will stay strongly positive in the longer term. So this picture here is from Deloitte survey. It's quite a recent survey. So it says that actually 38% of manufacturers indeed had paused investments. So taking back on their plans and waiting out to see how this pandemic and other things go. But what's here to note that 62% were moving ahead and actually many of them increasing their investments. So the sentence here is from a McKinsey report recent also, which studied how the COVID-19 has affected digital transformation in companies. So saying yes, so it's quite a large leap forward and throughout the whole value chain. So this effect shows also in manufacturing. So according to the report, one of the reasons to go for new technology, AR included at the moment, is strategic. So if prior to COVID-19, the reasons to adopt AR was money or rather saving it, now it's seen as a key part of a strategy. Looking at the discussions we are having today with our interest group, I think that might just be the case. But the tricky part from our point of view, so from our service provider's view, is how this interest actually translates into actions and how we can get those projects starting during these restrictions. But if we agree and decide that the demand is going sky high, so what are the actual industrial AR services companies are looking for at the moment? So I was going through a number of reports from research and consulting companies, articles on trade publications, and e-magazines on the internet. And these were the top 5 industrial AR use cases that I listed as the most commonly referred to when I was preparing another presentation last winter. So this is kind of the pre-COVID situations. So like you can see, training and worker guidance going strong here, remote support, of course, also things like process improvements, inspections, logistics use cases. But during the pandemic, you can actually see 2 very clear winners. So the absolute top solution at the moment, I think we can agree, is remote support. For example, enabling an expert to help another worker at the remote working site. So a lifesaver, keeping your business ongoing. Then we also have training. So according to the studies, 70% of training happens at the workplace and 20% learning is learning from others. So we need to find new ways to transfer the knowledge, getting the tacit knowledge from the experience to the junior workers, especially now as they cannot be near each other. And for example, in factories, COVID-19 has caused changes to how the work is organized. So teams have been reorganized. The sizes of teams are getting minimal, and individuals need to take care more tasks alone. And things are done differently. That means that people may have unfamiliar tasks, and more support and knowledge is needed to do the actual daily work. It has also brought access restrictions to control rooms, for example, so that causes visibility issues to the field and from the field or factory floor. And also it has caused safety issues because people are at the moment working alone and nobody is watching your back at work. So how do we solve today these issues with the help of augmented reality, and why start now if you haven't already? So to sum up, the AR ecosystem is evolving. I think the area organization is a good example of it. There's a multitude of interesting AR companies out there, and enterprises hopping on board of this AR train at the growing speed. And we are not alone here. Some might say it's unfortunate, but that is actually a good thing, since an active ecosystem guarantees that these technologies are developing in all fronts. Also, because the devices have developed over the years. While smartphones and tablets are great low barrier devices to start using AI in companies and widely already used, smart glasses are the #1 choice we recommend. So hands-free access, allowing you to focus on the work and not on the papers or device in your hands, is a far superior choice in most cases. The devices today have more computing power, better battery life, and are mechanically better and more fitted in the industrial environment than earlier. And this slide is just an example of a few of them that we recommend and most often use in our project. So I won't go deeper into the devices, but before I give the speech over to Tero and we learn more about how these issues are solved in practice, let's have a short and sweet poll about how do you feel about the interest. How do you feel that this pandemic has affected the interest towards AR at the moment? So Mark, if you can. So please go and vote, and once you have chosen your answer, please also remember to press the submit button so that we can see your answers here also. So if you think, Mark, we've had a good number of answers, I think we can.
There we go. Should have the answers there, which it's pretty comprehensive.
Okay. Okay. So it's looks like it's quite unclear thing that we are thinking commonly the same. Okay. So thank you for your answers. I think I'm going to let Tero continue. So Tero, please go ahead.
Thanks, Eve. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you. Also on my behalf, my name is Tero. I'm the CEO and co-founder of the company. And during the next 10-15 minutes, I will walk you through some of the real life examples of the customer engagements that we have done, and also what have been the key findings that we have discovered during those pilots. So Eve, if you give me the next slide, please. So here's a good example of a modern production facility. So you see that there's a high level of automation, which basically means that you have lots of machines, but you don't have that many people working in the facilities. So the person working in there is no longer like a pair of hands, part of the production process. That person is more there just to make sure that the machines stay up and running and that you get the highest production uptime possible. Also, you see that it's actually a pretty vast area. So it's a huge production hall. Many of these production machines are kind of bulky, which means that if you happen to be working there, you actually don't have a very clear line of sight over the whole area. So you don't necessarily see what's happening, or you don't really see the beacons on top of the machines showing that there are alerts and production issues ongoing and so on. And like Eva said earlier, due to COVID-19, the production teams have been reassigned, which in most cases means that you have even less people working in the facilities than what you would usually have. So the responsibility area of a single person is very high. So that person is supposed to be handle lots of different machines and lots of different malfunctions and so on. So it's not really a nice environment to work in, to be honest. The stress levels of people are getting higher and higher. And on the next slides, I'll walk you through some of the ways how AR actually can be used to enhance the operations and make people feel more comfortable and safe doing the daily operations at work. But before we get there, we have another poll, which I think is on the next slide. So the question is, have you already deployed AR in the factory shop floor? And the options are here, so not yet, haven't thought about it, not yet, but I'm planning, we adapted, or the pilot that was done didn't really work out the way we thought. So I'll give you a second to answer that. Yeah, Mark, I'll let you show the results when you see they're ready. Okay, well, that looks good. So clearly the idea is not new to any of you. So you've either done testing or you have you are in the planning phase. Planning actually is very important. Sanna, who is talking in this webinar after me, she'll go through some of the critical steps that are needed in planning to make sure that the pilot actually turns out as expected. So if you get back to my slides, please. The next one. So we have a real life example here. So this is from electronics factory. So people are wearing glasses as a tool that is guiding them through the daily tasks. And as long as the factory is running as supposed, the glass and the software is more like kind of information providing tool. So for different workers, we are bringing out different KPIs from the production system, so that people are just generally up to date with how the production is running. And because the glass knows who is the person wearing the device, so we can customize the UI and the data so that each person gets exactly the data that is most relevant for their duties. And then when there is an alert of something going wrong, so we immediately inform the user. So the user might be on the other side of the factory hall, but through the glasses, he or she still gets the real-time notification that there is something going wrong. and the person knows that, okay, I have to go there and start fixing things. And what we noticed in many customer projects is that, especially in cases where there are multiple alerts ongoing at the same time, people don't necessarily start fixing the most critical one. They might go for the easy one. So this is kind of against the guidelines and the trainings that they have got, but human nature is what it is. So you don't always tackle the challenge, you go the easy way. And in some pilots, this has been a big surprise for the factory management people, because they thought that people actually react accordingly when they know what is happening. But in some cases, that actually hasn't been the case, and that has led to some let's say retraining and process enforcements on their side. Then Eve, next slide, please. So once the person got the alert information and he or she goes to the position where the alert is actually happening, the glass is switching from a kind of alert information mode to step-by-step guidance mode. So we are telling the person step-by-step on how exactly that problem should be solved. And while doing this kind of troubleshooting and problem solving, the person can access the kind of maintenance history of the machine. She can access the kind of production data. So if the machine has been online and producing IoT data, she can have a look at that, trying to understand what exactly was the reason that led to this problem that she's now trying to fix. But in some cases, the proposed problem fixing guide might not apply, or the machine just might be acting in a really weird way, and then the user is a bit confused. Okay, so I'm getting these instructions, but they don't really seem to match with the actual problem at hand. And then the next natural step to do is call for help. So Eva, next slide. So from that troubleshooting mode, the user can easily switch to the remote support mode. And the glass is now establishing a call with a technical help desk, but we are not just calling like a random person at the help desk, because the glass knows the history of what has happened. So the glass knows that there was an alert, which was followed by this and this troubleshooting and problem solving system that didn't really work out. So by the time we are making the call, we can tell the system that because of this history, we need a support person that has expertise on this and this area. So this is greatly reducing the problem solving time, because instead of just reaching a random support person, we reach the person that has the best hands-on knowledge on this specific matter. And as you can see in here, so the expert not only sees on his or her display what's the video coming from the glass, but he can also access the same IoT data available for the production facilities. If you happen to have fixed cameras installed in the factory, so the expert can also see the video view from those cameras, so that he has one or more kind of view angles into the problem area. And then lastly, the expert can also add additional experts into the call if for some reason he or she cannot solve the problem by himself. And those extra experts could either come within your organization, or you could invite externals, like let's say some technical person from the production machine vendor. But all in all, with this flexibility and all the information at hand, the problem solving is supposed to happen super fast. Then Eva, if we go to the next slide. So basically what we covered here is kind of all-in-one solution that consists of 3 parts. So we have the production monitoring system, that is just making sure that people are aware of how things are. including the KPIs and the alerts. And then we had the step-by-step problem solving application. And then finally, we have the remote mentoring using the video call. And the key in here is that the user is not switching between 3 apps to make all this happen. So this is all bundled into a single solution that they are using on a daily basis. And how it looks from the customer point of view or the end user point of view is that they don't even really need to learn how to use the glass. So basically, when you take the smart glass, you press the power button, so the system starts up and it goes automatically into this solution. So there is nothing about navigating the glass menus or getting confused with the interaction methods. It's all in one solution for the user. And to make it really convenient for the user, you have to make sure that the user experience and the navigation methods kind of stay consistent when you are switching between these 3 modes in the solution. So that was a practical example of how we've been able to improve the uptime in production facilities, even when the number of people working there are really low. And from here, I will hand it over to Sanna, who talks about some of the actual usability experiments and results that we have done.
All right, thank you, Tero, so much. And from my behalf, I'm very excited to be today here, part of this webinar. And today I will lead you into AR in use and present you an example of a case study on how AR has been deployed in real life and in industrial environment, and also give you a few tips on how to start with an AR project. So I'm guessing you might have some questions after hearing Tero and Eve, and probably you're thinking that what it actually takes in practice to deploy AR. Some of you might know it already, some of you might have a slight idea. Anyway, I'm looking into this from the practical perspective and present a real-life case made with one of our clients. And to answer these questions, of course, it all depends on your particular use case. And unfortunately, there's no universal answer to these questions, but I can give you a glimpse of what it can be and how it was done in one case. So let's see if we can find some answers to your questions. So I will present you a use case made with Siemens, which was a Siemens lead project with the main goal of finding out how AR could help to solve all practical, everyday problems that the system operators face, and to develop new concepts to traditional machine controls that focus on the user experience, better utility and usability of the control panels. And the basis problematic at the starting point of this project was that by using traditional control panels, the operators didn't have the machine and the information inside at the same time to make adjustments to the process quick and easy. And the traditional control panels were found to be complicated and located in fixed places, which led to that the access to the information also required quite a lot of walking back and forth between the machine and the control panels, which means it takes a lot of time and is not efficient. And as a solution, you might think, why not use a mobile device to control the machine? And yes, that's one solution, but with a mobile device, it always requires a hand or two in use. So in this case, this was not a solution. And how it was done then? This project decided to address the problem through connecting right data with the right user and the right context with real users operating CNC machines. And obviously in this project, Augumenta provided the software and tools, and Siemens built the application for the study. So the solution itself was to display the information to the user with smart glasses. So what happened, as you can see in this picture, the user was wearing smart glasses, and when their hand was brought in front of their face, the panel virtually appeared on the palm. So the operator was able to see both the process and the process data at the same time. And with smart glasses, the operator's hands were free, so they could choose to either interact with the machines directly or to adjust the process with a simple virtual control panel displayed onto one hand, and while they could operate with the other one. And they could do this from wherever they were standing, and well, you bring your hands with you all the time, so that solves the problem. And this was from the use case perspective. And let's take a look at the user perspective. So what you see here is a summary of the evaluation that was made upon the project. And the users were asked to evaluate how they feel about using the system. So the summary is based on their insights. They were asked to evaluate on a scale from 1 to 5 of total of 9 factors about the system usability and its functioning. And on this scale, 1 was the best possible grade and 5 the worst possible grade. And the factors studied were, for example, stability of tracking and display, use of buttons, reaction time, and ease of learning. And in all these, the grades were on the top side of the scale. And as an example, I can give you some average grades of the user's insights. For example, the stability of hand detection got the average of 1, which is on the top side of the scale, and tracking got the average of 1.1. Also, the stability of display got the average of 1.5. And also something we are especially proud of is that learning to use the solution was considered easy. The users were also asked whether the utilization of the system was actually helpful, and the use of the system saved time. When they were asked this, it gave the average of 1.5. So they actually felt it was useful for them in their daily duties operating the process, saving time. And since this project, Smart Panel is in use at Siemens, and we've got some encouraging feedback, especially on the usability. Okay, then let's move on to what to consider when deploying AR. And we've realized taking a step towards a new technology can be a bit complicated or just something you don't always know how to begin with. So we thought it might be helpful if we came up with a few tips about how to get started. So we've made a checklist with some guidelines to consider when deploying AR in industry. And we will also email this checklist to all of you after this webinar, so you will receive this as a PDF file afterwards. So if you don't want to make notes now, it's not necessary. And since you're already receiving this PDF, I will not go through the whole list here, but point out a few of the most important things. So if you're considering deploying AR, it's really about what you want to achieve. From your perspective, it's important to identify the problem. And thinking about what you actually want to do is not only helping you plan your pilot, but also guide you through it and help you target your resources more efficiently. Do you want to reduce downtime, boost the efficiency of your processes, perhaps provide remote support, improve the quality, or reduce safety hazards? And this part is important also for setting goals. But also before heading to rolling out the pilot, define what you want to achieve with the pilot and what are the metrics that you want to follow. Because if you want to reduce downtime, you need to actually know how much downtime your production is having right now. So you need to know enough about the current state to be able to compare before and after. Because if you don't do the comparison, you can't tell whether there was any effect thanks to AR. And after the project, do also the comparison. Did the project result in improvements like expected? If did, very well. If not, now you know how to improve your processes and have the knowledge of what industrial AR can or cannot do for you. Another important perspective is the people. And with people is all about the information. Getting real-time information to the people in action is in the core of utilizing AR in industry. What is the information that helps your people? And is the information in an electronic format? But it's also important to involve the people and think about who are the people working with the solution and how do they feel about working with AR. And latest at this stage, it's good to start talking to a company specialized in industrial AR. And after running the pilot in a real production environment, becoming aware of the whole project is a really good idea. So conduct interviews with the people operating the system and find out what they think about working with the AR solution. Is it bringing any help to their daily tasks? Or is the solution working as it should? They will tell you things your metrics probably won't tell you. And finally, to sum up this webinar, as Eve's presentation told us, AR is really changing the way we work, and especially the pandemic situation is forcing us to think about new ways of working. AR gives a lot of potential for it, especially for industry in the factory shop floor. With AR, you can boost the productivity, enable faster problem solving, lessen the mistakes made by human, lessen safety hazards, and better your safety record, or create an automated data gathering about completed tasks. AR enables also multiple use cases to be integrated into a single solution, like Tero's example showed us, by using a single app, which means no jumping between silos. And for succeeding in such a project, usability and simplicity are the key factors which will also lead into less user resistance. And the results that we have gotten are very promising, and we're hoping we're on the right path. All right, thank you all so much for listening. I hope you found our presentations useful. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us after this webinar. But let's now take a look into the questions. We hope we got some questions. So Mark, what kind of questions did we receive? Can you please go and tell us?
Yep, thank you very much. Thank you, Sanna, Eve, and Tero. That was very interesting and really adds on to the work that the area is doing, not only just about the technical deployment, but some of the kind of human aspects as well. And I think you've covered lots of really excellent areas. So we have got a couple of questions, but I'd like to kick off with one. It's a question I often ask. And it's about the kind of benefit. Can you talk a little bit more about the typical benefit and kind of value that a customer would get when kind of deploying your platform and those multiple kind of use cases stacked on top of each other? And perhaps Tero, I could ask you that one.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. That's a good question. So I think in production, it's all about downtime. So how do you keep the systems running without any serious malfunctions? And so we've seen this kind of happening in many ways. So first of all, just by people wearing glasses and being aware of the real-time data, actually the number of alerts goes down because people actually they can kind of foresee things happening before they get really bad. So because you have less alerts, so everything is just running more smoothly in the production. And then another thing is that in these kind of more complex scenarios, when you have multiple alerts ongoing, you know, by making sure that people actually start solving them in the proper order, that typically leads also to less downtime, because it's way more important to fix the critical alert and, you know, ignore the trivial one for the time being. And then I think the third thing is so there are less human mistakes made, and that's because of two reasons. So first of all, we are giving the step-by-step guidance that in many cases is enough to make even the junior people, you know, get the problem solved. But also, you know, the threshold to make a call to an expert is really low, because we can kind of guarantee that if you just, you know, hit the call button, you will immediately talk to someone who really knows what's happening and can give you like precise help. So this kind of like trial and error method that, you know, used to be the way too often method of solving problems. So we are moving away from that, and it's really more about the worker being guided instead of just the worker being alone and just trying what could help and what might solve the issue.
That's great, thank you. So to kind of summarize, it's basically about less downtime. It's about being in performance improvements and greater efficiencies for the organization. I can definitely see that through the solution. So thank you. We have a few other questions. I think one here about the hardware, the glasses that were being used, particularly I think in that middle section of the use cases and the final case study. Can you comment on that?
So let me start by saying that we started this business in 2012, and over these years we have used around 25 different devices. Some of them are good, some of them are not so good. The glass that should be used in any given environment depends a bit on what is the safety gear that people are using in the facilities. So if people by default don't have any safety gear, then you would go for a glass that is as lightweight and comfortable as possible. But then if they happen to be already wearing safety gear, whether it's a helmet or ear protection or safety glasses, then you would go for glass hardware that nicely integrates with the existing safety gear that they always have.
Cool, thank you. So I guess it's it's about use case, it's about the kind of situational part to choose the right devices, and I hear that a lot. And I'm guessing your kind of platform supports many different glasses. You had a slide on them earlier, so again, it's down to that use case, really making sure that understand that in a deep way.
Really down to the customer to basically explain the working environment, and then we typically recommend 1 or 2 different devices for them to choose from. And in many cases, they might do the first pilot with a couple of different devices just to see what's the end user feedback, because like Sanna said, that's critically important. It's not just about the ROI and the savings. I mean, you still have to be sure that the people actually wearing the devices are happy with them.
Absolutely correct. I couldn't agree more. Okay, another question for you. This is an interesting one. Do you typically integrate tightly with existing software solutions or provide more standalone tools that work in parallel to existing software?
Well, these use cases are all about data. I mean, we are bringing data in front of users' eyes. So, that data today, it exists somewhere in the system. So we have to make sure that we can utilize as much of the existing data that is available and try to minimize the kind of amount of kind of extra data that should be generated outside the existing systems that the customers have. So integrating with ERP and MES system, that's something we do on a daily basis.
Okay, great. Thank you, Tero. And a bit about the content, content development, content management's always something that needs to be carefully managed. So how is the content for the step-by-step guides created? Can you just comment on that a little bit?
Yeah, so there are 2 ways, actually 3 ways. So we have our own tools for creating it from scratch if there is nothing that can be reused. We have tools that can be used to convert existing data. Let's say you have it in Excel sheets or something else, and then also if you already are up to date with your backend and the information is already saved, say in SAP, then we can pull the data from there as well.
Perfect. That's great. Thank you very much. Okay, so I think we've had kind of 50 minutes now. I want to thank everybody for their questions. If there's any unanswered questions, we can follow up on an email on that as well. So finally, I just want to thank the team at Augumenta for a really interesting and insightful webinar. As they mentioned, they'll be sending, happy to give away their step-by-step guide for industrial AR. So thank you for that. And please feel free, if you receive that, to pass it on to your teams as well, because I think there's some really good steps in there. And that's it. Thank you again for your attendance. This will be available and you'll get a link to it very soon. And again, thank you for the team at Augumenta for an excellent webinar, and I will hopefully speak to you all soon. I wish you a very good day, evening, and if you're in the US, Thanksgivings. Okay, bye everybody, thank you.